Yes, you are listening to the Ready, Set, Retire radio podcast with Steve Anzuoni. My name is Jessica Forkel. Get more details on the website at fairwayfinancial.net. Now, Steve, for the first year, the government issues a cost of living adjustment. It's also called a COLA. It's supposed to help keep up with inflation. And in 2026, the COLA will be a whopping 2.8%. And on average, folks will probably receive about $56. $56 is kind of a slap in the face here, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I know, but that's how they do their calculations. And I know if somebody is listening going, well, wait a minute, inflation's much higher than that. They don't use those numbers. They use different numbers to use the COLA. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the exact formula, but obviously they're not taking into account price of gas and food and all that stuff. They're using other numbers. But 2 years ago, I think we got a crazy 9% or something hike. So, of course, the 4 years before that, we got 0, 0, 0, and 0.01. So, Social Security is not the greatest system in the world, but for many people, it's the only pension we have. And as the saying goes, it is what it is. And so, Medicare Part B is going to go up. So, that's going to eat into probably, on average, 40% of the increase. And you probably never heard people say this much, Jess, but I can't wait till I turn 65 because
There are some advantages.
My health insurance premiums as a self-employed person who's over 60 is through the roof. It's a mortgage payment. It's $2,000 a month. It's brutal, and it's a very high deductible plan. It's just the way it is. You know, you would think in our country with all the great medical care and people flying in from all over the world wanting to come here would have a better grip on how it's going to work. And maybe someday these politicians will actually get together and figure out something that's best for the regular folks in this country. We got to move forward and just say, look, this is what it is. I mean, Social Security wasn't supposed to be the main source of income, although for most people it's half of what people need. Our 401ks and our IRAs have become the new pensions. Problem is, there's no guarantee on those pensions. That's the problem with having all the money there in the 401k. So, to me, doing this for as long as I've done, the key is to adjust and to meet with people as they're getting ready to retire and plan, or if they just retired, and to say to them, look, you're in the same boat as 90% of people in this country. Okay? You're not alone, and you need to understand how I can help take your piles and direct traffic, if you will, and say, look, you need an income pile, you need an inflation pile, you need an emergency pile, you need a fun bucket pile to travel. I just had that conversation this week with someone who went to the seminar the week before and read the book already. I was impressed with that.
Wow.
And they're like, Steve, I loved how you talked. I loved how you took the money and you split it up like that. It makes way more sense than trying to understand these 32-page statements that I'm getting. And, you know, that's what I want to do, Steve. I want to have an income pile. I want to have an inflation pile. I already have my emergency pile. But, boy, my wife and I love that fun bucket pile, too. And I said, well, I can do it for you. Just let me help you. Let me see where the money's at and make it work better. I mean, look, everybody out there, you all have 401ks and you all have IRAs, or you all have 403Bs if you're nonprofit, right? I mean, You're not alone. I have that too. Most of this country is built on that. However, when you transition to retirement, you need to transition your savings plan to retirement mode and not just to accumulation mode with some withdrawals here and there. That is not, in my opinion, that is not the wisest way to go forward, is to only have Social Security as your guarantee. You need to have a better bucket. And I'll tell you, I had a gentleman come in this week. Wow. I mean, one of the smartest people I've ever met, Jess. This guy had MBAs.
Wow.
I mean, degree after degree. He had more degrees than a thermometer, okay? And he was a super nice, very smart man. And he says, Steve, I've done a lot of my money management myself, which I wasn't surprised at. And he said to me, he goes, what I really need is some guaranteed income here. And I've been reading up on these annuities. And he goes, that makes sense to me. He goes, most of my piles aren't guaranteed. As a matter of fact, all of his piles weren't. He goes, I need something to offset the fact that Social Security is going to cover maybe a third or a half of my needs. So it was just an excellent conversation, and we talked about adjusting the buckets, if you will, Jess. So you listening out there, you are in this boat, okay? And what you need to do is to make a call to say, Steve, how can I adjust my lump sums to start showing and reflecting the real life income that I need in retirement? Because the pile is not the income. It's a start, but it's not the total solution, in my opinion. You need to see numbers that work better for you. So give us a call, and let's get together, and let's talk about this and work these things out. So, Jess, let them know how to do that.
And it's as easy as calling today, 508-552-3230. Again, that's 508-552-3230. That website, fairwayfinancial.net. Now, Steve, I think it was sometime last year and a little bit earlier this year, you finally had your double knee replacement, right?
Yes, November last year and February this year.
You talk about knocking those things out pretty quick, but you're done, you're healed, you're on the mend, all the good stuff.
I'm way better than I was, I can tell you that.
Oh, great.
I mean, I went through a little bit of hell there, but in the long run, much better off for it.
Well, listen, you're not the only one that's doing some knee replacements here. And listen, this story, I'm going to preface it by saying, now I have heard everything.
Uh-oh.
Sir Elton John, he got both knees replaced last year. And he didn't just toss them, right? He called up a designer, like you do, and asked that they be made into jewelry. Listen to this.
It looks a bit like an old artifact from Egypt or something.
That's what these sort of things are. They're kind of talismanic. I mean, I love doing things that actually, you know, in 1,000 years, this will be, as it says here,
yes,
this will be Elton John's kneecap.
And on the back is in Latin, right?
Yeah. Well, my cousin is a Latin scholar. And quite
He
odd.
is.
He is, genuinely.
Yeah.
So we wanted a thing saying, I will no longer bow to any man, which, of course, you can't do with a kneecap missing.
I honestly think these are timeless pieces that will last for centuries.
Well, they are going to last for centuries. There's a video that goes with this, so if you want to Google it, you can see it. So, Steve, you missed out on an opportunity here, man. You could have had some great jewelry made for your wife. And
how do you know I didn't do that?
Well, you didn't tell me about it, so I didn't know.
I try to keep it secret.
Okay,
no,
right.
I didn't think of doing that because, obviously I was in agony along the way, and the last thing I wanted was those old ones. I wanted
toss
the new
them out.
ones.
Well, listen, though, I mean, he has us thinking about longevity and income here. I mean, these things are going to last a long time. I'm sure eventually they'll sell these things.
Oh, man.
And a lot of folks entering retirement, they're looking for income that can last 20, 30, 40 plus years after the paycheck stops. So are you the right designer, Steve, to help make that happen?
Well, heck, I can design income plans like no one's business, okay? So I'm the right guy for that. But as far as kneecaps...
kneecap jewelry, no less. Yeah.
Kneecap jewelry, that's not my thing.
Okay.
But, leave it to Elton to come up with something ingenious and brilliant like that, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, someone might pay, $5 million a knee for his jewelry. I mean, look at Eddie Van Halen's guitar that went up for auction. I think it fetched close to $3 million.
Wow.
So that's a hell of a guitar. It's better than the ones that I have hanging in my office, I can tell you. But... no, I am a designer, but I'm an income designer. And I never thought of myself as that until now. But that's what I do. I help people stay retired, okay, unless they want to go work, and then you can. But I create cash flow. And really, if you think about what retirement planning is, it's all about cash flow. If you can't replace your check, you can't retire. It's that simple. It's not that complicated. And my plans are very straightforward. A lot of them are. Now, I have some complex ones, too, which we won't get into today, but I can do a lot of really cool stuff with indexes and things. But the majority of people are saying, hey, Steve, you're the income guy, and I have a pile of money here. I have $1 million, and I'd like to create some guaranteed cash flow to supplement my Social Security. How do I go about doing it? And I will take it from there, run some numbers, show you how it works. And it's that simple. It's not complicated. You won't get overwhelmed with statements from me. You won't get overwhelmed with fees either. Okay, a lot of these products, the income side of the product has no fees on it, and it's a really amazing thing to be able to do and to use these companies that have been around, some of them for over 100 years, Jess.
Wow.
Have been in business. So a lot of them had stood the test of time, as it will, and it will provide you a paycheck for 20, 30, whatever number of years you need it, because even if the money you give me runs out, the check does not run out. It never runs out. And that's what I love showing people when they come in, the numbers, because numbers don't lie. Okay?
Numbers don't lie. And when you say show me the numbers, I immediately heard show me the money from Jerry Maguire. Money. Show me the numbers, show me the money, show me my income plan, show me my buckets of money. That's a fantastic movie. So if you want Steve to show you the money, let's just call it the show me the money analysis.
I love
right?
that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Show
Put your
me
numbers
the
on
income.
paper. Yeah, show me the income, show me the money, show me the numbers. We'll do that for you complimentary, by the way. 508-552-3230. 508-552-3230. The website, fairwayfinancial.net. You know, we were talking about earlier as the leaves are coming down, now it's time to kind of look ahead at what you need to be doing as the holidays are sweeping in. Some other things that you need to be doing right now, because as seasons change, we have a little to-do list. You need to change your HVAC air filters. You might be thinking, why? Well, because studies show that the following things can be polluting inside your home, like this. They say new walls, floors, and furniture. They have that funky new smell. Gas stoves, they emit apparently ultrafine particles and nitrogen oxide. Didn't know that. And candles and other scented products, they give off carbon-based chemicals. So, Steve, I take all of this and then I go, man, all this stuff is pretty invisible, right? It just smells. But at the same time, what is an invisible pollutant in our retirement accounts that could be hurting?
An invisible pollutant, I see fees being a big one there, because it's difficult to read the statements to begin with, and it's even more difficult to find the fees associated with all that stuff. So I had all these meetings this week. I reviewed a whole bunch of statements looking for things and what's going on. It's kind of ironic that the way the world is shaped today, or the industry, I guess, when it comes to managing money, back in the day, maybe, 20 years ago or so, Vanguard came out with this concept where you buy into shares of the S&P 500, and they were called index funds. Now, today, everyone knows what they are, because every portfolio that I see has the famous VOOG fund in there. Like, literally 99.9% of these portfolios have them. Now, here's the irony. Vanguard was known for their no-load, low-load funds, right? And they came out with this in an effort to shave off fees and everything else, because obviously these funds aren't actively managed. They just follow the S&P 500. And the fees were like, 0.1, 0.2. And then, Fidelity come out with their version, and they were the wars of reducing fees. And so that helped every investor out there. It really did lower those fees for them. Then our industry made a change roughly around the same time, where professionals come in and they will manage these monies for you and charge a fee. Now, I'm not against fees being charged when they're warranted, but this gentleman I told you about this week, that smart gentleman in here,
yes,
he goes, Steve, what I don't get is, you could tell by my portfolio that I've got a lot of these index funds because they're low fees. And I always get these calls from folks wanting to manage my money. And he laughed. He goes, the money's already managed. I have 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index alone. Why would I want to layer another fee on top of that when the idea is to reduce my fees, not increase my fees?
Right.
And he raised a valid point. But there's another piece to that puzzle, and it's helping people do the right thing in tough times especially, right? People are emotional. We are all emotional beings, and we sometimes act emotionally when it comes to our money, which is probably the worst thing in the world to do.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, you're not thinking straight.
Yeah, and so, a lot of what I do helps people eliminate those mistakes, because they're kind of autopilot, if you will. Like, for example, take the guaranteed income annuity. You give me a piece of money, and in a set period of time, a year or 2 or 3, whenever you tell us to turn on the check, we turn the check on. And the check's going to be there forever. And there it is. It's autopilot. You know what it is now. You know what it is in the future. It's a beautiful thing. And there's no really huge thought process about that other than to how much do I initially invest.
Right.
And so that's the conversation I had with him and another couple this week. This gentleman and his wife had a friend in the business for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, and you know how they say that family and business kind of don't mix. And that's very true. And sometimes friends can be tough too. And I said, look, I've been in business a long time, and I know when I come across a situation, sometimes the friend in the business, you know, I don't want to upset the apple cart. And he looked at me and he goes, no, Steve, I have no problem with it.
Oh, wow.
And I went, whoa, okay, we can talk further. And, you know, what was interesting was that he said to me that he's the one who has to initiate the call all the time. And I'm like, I don't get that. If someone's going to charge you a fee, shouldn't they be initiating calls and being proactive?
Following up and all that, yeah, of course.
And he goes, yeah, that's what I thought too. I says, well, that doesn't sound like it's working out too well, so let's talk about some alternatives. And we spent the next half hour talking about splitting pieces up and doing some stuff. You know, it turned out to be a very great conversation back and forth. And again, why I'm bringing this up is because I know just about everybody out there has an advisor, and they've worked with them for a while, probably. Most of my clients had advisors before they met me. And it's okay to get a second opinion, Jess. Guess what I'm saying. And it's your money. And in the end, if your money runs out, that person who's watching it is not going to replace it for you. If you try to make that phone call, you're not going to hear what you want to hear on the other end of that phone, assuming they pick up the phone to answer it. So you need to be the watchdog first and say, hey, this is my money. I worked really hard for it, and I want to retire successfully, and I want income for life. That's what I want. And so that's what we're here to bring. And, yes, there's trapdoors everywhere out there. I've been in business for over 38 years. I can find those. I can tell you what's going on and give you all the pros and cons of everything that you've got now and what we can bring to the table for you. So, again, it all boils down to you taking action. Listening to this show, by the way, is action, okay? But, you know, I can't reach through the phone or the mic to make that call first. You've got to pick up that phone and say, hey, Steve, I've heard you for years, and I've listened to your show, and I think it's now time to get together and figure this out. So give me a call. Let's get that call made. It is the fall. We got some time to plan this year, and let's make it happen.
Get more details on the website, fairwayfinancial.net. That's fairwayfinancial.net.
Steve Anzuoni is a licensed insurance provider by the Division of Insurance and is not registered as an investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve Anzuoni, Massachusetts Insurance License 3851053. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Anzuoni is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Anzuoni is licensed in your state, please call 508-398-3337.